Good morning, Lafayette. It is great to be back with you again today. Here we are on Thursday, February 5th. It is another cold, chilly morning in the Lafayette area, and plenty of people are starting to see or get sick of, let's say, the cold weather that has been in and about the region for the last month or so. I've got some details on that and how long the cold that we have in here right now is going to last. And we've got all kinds of details on the coming weather, including a chance for some snow this afternoon and maybe a better shot even tomorrow as we started to see some changes in the flow and the pattern. And that's going to affect just about everything we do see and run into over the next couple of days and basically over the next, of course, couple of weeks where if you guys remember a couple of weeks ago, now I've always told you don't look at these long range forecasts other than maybe trends. You know, the trend's going to be cold or it's going to be snowy or it's going to be rainy, so on and so forth. But what I have seen over the last couple weeks was that most of the month of February, especially early February, was going to be cold. Then there was going to be a little bit of a warm up and then right back into the cold or something along those lines. Then I saw it develop into maybe a week or two of cold, like we are now, getting real warm, and then maybe staying that way. And now I'm seeing guys running around telling me March is going to be the coldest March we've ever seen in the entire planet, maybe the entire state of Indiana. I don't know if you would see that or not, but potential is there for maybe some more cold in March, at least as the charts look now. But let's keep that in mind and keep that with a grain of salt as to what you make for plans a month from now and what you may run into. Obviously, in March, one of those months, March, April, May, we think of transitioning back towards the summertime, right? And in those transition months, we have lots of ups and downs. So expect some temperatures far above normal in March, April, May, and far below normal in March, April, and May. Where we are now, here we are in December, January, and February, we generally expect temperatures to be at or below normal, or generally just a kind of a cold period. Not as much ups and downs as we normally see in those transition periods. And the summer is the same thing, except now we're on the higher levels, right? Everything's warm for most of the summer with less of the ups and downs that we generally see, through the year and through the springtime, and then again in the fall time frame for that time frame. Let's get into some of these charts right away. I've got all kinds of different things here I want to show you, and different types of charts that I've been kind of getting at and working with. And this is a site called Windy, and I've used this for years too. This was really good when Susie and I were in uh, where were we? Oh, we were in Egypt and Jordan and Israel, and we were traveling around, and I wanted to see what the weather was like. And of course, the weatherman on the bus has to know what the weather's like for everybody because they want to know. And you would think the Middle East wouldn't be that big of a difference, but in reality, it really is a big change in weather at different times. And we were there in December. And December, of course, winter there in Egypt, Jordan, Israel, and you could have a bit of ups and downs. So I was forecasting weather on that front while we were there a few years ago when we went, and it was just an exciting time. But here's Windy, and I'm using this one right now because it kind of shows where the temperatures are in the local area across the eastern half of the United States currently. I mean, it's showing Logansport at 17 degrees right now, but you head out to Des Moines. I want you to focus on something that we talked about last week. Where was the flow coming from, and what were the temperatures from where the flow was coming from? Now we can see a lot of the little arrows. Hopefully your screen is bright enough and has enough 4K or whatever the K you need is to see the wind flow and the patterns on there. So when I zoom in close, I can see them pretty easily too. But what I notice is everything is out of the west, southwest. We'll call it southwest. How's that? Throughout most of the eastern half of the United States is what we're seeing. But where would that temperatures be that come from that? Or where would they come from? Obviously, look down to Oklahoma and Texas, back towards Arkansas and Missouri. Your temperatures are now in the 30s and 40s. And that temperature is trying to be pulled up. We call it advection. It's trying to be advected into our area. The flow last week was from the northwest, from the St. Paul, Minneapolis area, from Wisconsin. Temperatures up there were 10 below, and the flow was out of the northwest towards Lafayette. and temperatures were cold and chilly. So it appears, at least for the short time being, we are going to see some kind of a warm up. Well, we call it a warm up, but reality is there's not a lot of warm air in the forecast anywhere anytime soon. Just some chilly temperatures today, one day of warm up, and then back into the not deep freeze, but cold for this time of the year. Currently, it's 19 out at the airport right now. Winds are 7 miles an hour, so that gives you a wind chill right around 10. If you're out pumping gas or doing something along those lines, you want to make sure you take precautions. There is only one day on this 5 day forecast that I can see here, and that is tomorrow, where we may actually get to our average high of 35 during the day tomorrow as a potential. And I think this may update. We'll see that when I go into the charts, because the new 12Z run for the HER has just come in. And as it has come in, it's got new data on it. And that's why I said I see the shift to the south a little bit for the snow tomorrow, which may be a possibility of something we'll have to keep an eye on, especially for our roads tomorrow, it looks like. But maybe 35 tomorrow, then back to 24, and then some 30s, and maybe even some 40s for next week. There's that warm up we talked about earlier, and how we can't get into the mix of how bit will it be real warm or real cold. Where's our trends going from a week or two ago, right? But I think at least a week ago, I was telling you that the end of this week we had a potential to be warmer and into the following week, and here we are today. But if you remember, I'm pretty sure last week it was showing like 45 degrees for tomorrow, and like 40 for Saturday. You see the big difference? To now it's showing 35 and 24. So yes, warmer, just not as warm as the model was showing at that time frame. So let's get into it. Let's look at the satellite picture right now, and the satellite picture is showing some clouds moving in from our north and from our, well, we'll call it the west, northwest, out over the Great Plains. If you're heading that direction, you see plenty of cloud cover there. Lots of clouds over Lafayette, Lafayette being right about where the cursor is there on the map. And we can see the high clouds that are mixed in here, plenty of those. Doesn't look like a ton of low clouds mixed in with this band of cloud cover coming across. I was just outside myself taking a look at what the skies look like, and it's kind of a dingy gray out there, but they're not real close to the ground. You remember, I think it was Sunday morning. Was it Sunday morning that we had all the white in the trees, and it had fog that morning, and the fog kind of just grabbed onto all of the trees, and we had that beautiful white crystals. Well, that was from low cloud cover, because fog is basically a cloud on the ground, and we were able to see that in the trees. Well, we don't have any low clouds, and I don't mean that low, but I just mean like low clouds that generally create some flurries in the area. We have some lower clouds, but just not real low right now. But we're going to keep an eye on this system to our coming through from the west and from the northwest, and over Great Lakes and over Lake Michigan into Michigan itself. The poor people in Michigan, again, are going to get some more lake effect from the system as it moves through. But it's going to try to warm things up real quick right before it comes through, and then it's going to give a real quick shot of cold air again, as you can see from this system. That's very consistent, not real cold. Remember what happens on this infrared shot. The infrared shot is obviously a picture of your temperatures at any given height in the atmosphere, and the higher and the colder it is, shows up in the yellows. When you get into the grays and the whites, you're actually seeing the ground there, and then in the blues are mid levels, and some of the whites are even your lower clouds. But what I see back in Wisconsin and Minnesota is not this big dark patch of blue like we had the last week or two, right? You notice that's over towards Ohio right there. Look at that. Cincinnati back over towards even all the way up to Cleveland. It looks like temperatures were at 0 or below 0 this morning, where we had cloud cover over us. We maintained the warmth we had from yesterday in our picture, at least for us. Let's zoom in a little closer on this. I want to see if we can pick out any other things. Lafayette being right here. And I don't see a ton here that we couldn't see on the other chart, other than the cold, of course, that you can see very easily in central Ohio down towards Cincinnati. And then you can see that there's not much for cloud cover. There's a big gap behind this system before the next one dives in tomorrow, it looks like, for our Friday. Also, there is moisture with this. We are seeing some snowfall being picked up. And look at this. Look at this big band right here in central Illinois right now. that big band over towards the Springfield area, back up towards Joliet's back up towards the southwest of Chicago, kind of on a line southwest to northeast there. And then there's some light snow falling just south of the lake. And when I looked at the models yesterday, it washed this whole system out. But as I watched, a few hours later, I watched it again. It got a little stronger and a little stronger. And then I'm curious to see, I'm pretty sure that the new 12Z, which just came out on the HER, will probably show this system stronger than it did yesterday, especially now that I can see actual snowfall and pretty good snowfall in central Illinois as of right now. Let's zoom in even closer, see how close we're getting to some of that towards us. Lafayette right here. I can see now most of this light blue stuff out here in the front probably is just a few flurries or not much of anything hitting the ground. But that thicker batch back here, that's something we'll keep an eye on. The good news is, look how fast it's moving. It's moving very quickly, almost like thunderstorms. So a very fast moving system. It may be very intense. Only looks like it's about 20 miles wide at any given spot, but the length is what, a good 100 miles to almost 150 miles across the state of Illinois. At the current speed, you're talking 1-2 hours to the state line, another hour to us. So you're talking around noon, around the noon time frame. Let's call it 11:30 to 12:30. We should start seeing the effects of the potential for some snowfall coming into the region here this morning. Now let's take a look at the models and see what the models actually say about that. And I'm going to start with the bigger picture of what it is. And here's the system right here. This quick moving clipper system that's going to zip on through here in the next 24 hours to 36 as there's a second one right behind it. Now, this tail that it shows right here in central Illinois was not showing up on the model yesterday. It kind of cut it off up here near Chicago, and we weren't seeing much there. So let's see how this, I bet it washes it out a little bit. Yeah, see how it washes it out, and you lose some intensity, but there still is some snowfall there. And then it hits Lafayette, and it's showing it hitting Lafayette roughly around, that would be 1 o'clock. So, give or take an hour here or there, sometime the middle of this afternoon, noon to 1 or so, we're going to see some snowfall from this coming through as it tries to press through. And then it's going to keep on moving towards the southeast and linger. We're going to have some lingering cloud cover or maybe some flurries hanging on through tonight. It looks like this would be about 7 o'clock tonight and starts to die away, and we look pretty good. Now, we know it's going to try to warm up tomorrow. We can see the 540 line right here, the 5400 line. That's usually kind of where we think of snow, rain mix. And when you look up to the northwest, you can see rain on one side of that line and snow on the other side. Where will this line be when it's in Lafayette and this snowfall, which we can't even see yet? This is tonight, right? Starts popping up in Wisconsin and Minnesota and then dives into Illinois and it gets into our area by about 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. So somewhere around 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and look how intense the snowfall is. This is pretty intense snowfall for a clipper system. The other worry is look at the distance. Now we are orientated from the northwest to the southeast, correct? So that means if Lafayette is right here and this bad boy is going to run right over the top of us, it means instead of an hour or 2 hour of decent snowfall, we could see several hours of snowfall. And that means, yes, more amounts of snowfall are possible. Plus, the temperature is up near the freezing mark, and that means it can hold more moisture. So it's not 10. Remember the very light snowfall that came through, how light and fluffy it was, how it moved around really easy. This will be more of a thicker snow, maybe a wetter snow, and then the atmosphere can actually hold more moisture when it's at 32 than when it's at 10. So that's why we generally get more snowfall when it's a bit warmer. So there we are on that. And then let's watch it buzz right through. There it goes. It kind of clips us. That's good. And then right there's where our potential for some ice could be tomorrow morning. This would be at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We want to watch out for the ice. So somewhere around, let's call it 4 to 6 in the morning tomorrow morning, we start to see our first snowfall from the system. And very quickly, we could turn to some ice in here, and the potential is there. That we could have some problems with our roads with that as we see that moving through. Now, as we keep continuing, there it is. And then it's probably going to, it tries to change back over to snow, Lafayette being right there. And the ice shifts a little bit farther to the south. But now we're at noon and it is still snowing. at noon. And then by 1 o'clock, it finally starts to die away a little bit somewhere in there, noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. A little bit of stuff coming off the lake. Now our flow is coming off the lake and down to the south. Will create flurries after the system, I'm sure. And we may even see some bands here or there that we see that line up off the lake in the exact right spot will be perfect. The also notice here that there's a little bit of green mixed in with the snowfall. Same potential. This could be ice that would freeze over for Saturday morning, something to keep an eye on for tomorrow night into Saturday. And then the snowfall lingers because of the flow off of the lake is coming straight out of the north, and that flow out of the north will create lake effect snowfalls for us potentially. Okay, so that's the big picture. You kind of see the big picture of what's happening with one quick little system coming now and then another one coming tomorrow during the day, right? And let's see what it does for our temperatures real quick on the broad scale. That's across the Midwest. We know it's cold. Here's those cold temperatures that were in Ohio this morning, where they were below zero again there, but we were in the teens pretty much. And it's a bit warmer out towards the west. And of course, no minus 10, 20, 30 up in Minnesota or Wisconsin today. As we go through the day to day, it doesn't warm up a ton. It tries to get back up to around mid 20s there by late afternoon. And that, with the cloud cover, there's not much the sun's going to be able to do. I'm sure it'll be spotty here and there when it's not snowing anywhere. That you'll see some spots of sun here and there, especially after the system goes through late this afternoon in the evening. But we don't get much better in about 24 or 25. It looks like on the her. And I'm going to zoom in closer so you'll be able to see it with Lafayette being right here at this spot. Now, this is tomorrow morning at like 3 in the morning. It's still in the 20s. And we're starting to see the kink right here of the next system coming towards us. And you notice the temperatures up here slightly colder than they are back down towards the south, as you would normally think. But then look at the shot of reinforcing cold air behind it that's going to be coming down during the day tomorrow. The influence of possibly some 30s during the day. And this will be all dependent on how much ice, if we get any tomorrow, will be in the picture. And then here comes the force. And then the cold air is back in by tomorrow evening, roughly around 9 o'clock. We're back into the 20s. We'll call it 7 to 9, and we're back into the 20s. And then we're back down to the teens for Saturday morning, depending on where the cloud bands set up off the lake. And you can see how the warm bands are right there, where it's 11 to 17 by 3 or 4 or 6 degrees just to our west or just to our east. That's how it works out because of that northerly flow. And if you have been paying attention and watching and listening to what I've been talking about the last couple of weeks, we have seen this kind of pattern several times. Some flurries, some snow, very, very light, cloud cover, an occasional sunspot here or there during the day, and then very cold to our east and very cold to our west, with us just 5 or 10 degrees warmer because of the cloud cover. Nobody's complaining about that part of it anyway, right? Let's zoom in now. Let's get in closer. Let's go into the very close model. We'll start talking some numbers. Let's go back. Let's look at the temperatures first. Here we are this morning in the teens. Lafayette is right here. Showing you the number right there. 16 it shows this morning, basically tops us out around 24, 25. So I think there's going to be some potential very late in the day, maybe to get to 25 or 26 locally because of the potential of that big spot of open sky that we saw. Let's see if we can go back here real quick to the satellite. Bam. And when we looked at it, we could see that there's open sky back behind us. Go back one more chart. There we go. And there's that open spot back in here. So if we get into this open late after the snowfall by noon or so, and by 3 o'clock, 2 or 3 o'clock, we might tack on an extra degree or two because of that. That's something that's a positive, but not a definite likely in there. Okay, so there's the temperatures, and then it actually, you notice it kind of stays pretty steady. This is 6Z, so now we're talking 1 in the morning. It's still 25 degrees out. It's actually warmer than it will be right now in the middle of the day. Right. And it kind of hangs there around 23 to 25, 26. And then we pop to right around 30 tomorrow afternoon. This is about 11, right before the snow is supposed to start. We have this influx of warm air somehow trying to get into Illinois and Michigan. And there's a reason I question this already. The flow is out of the north. And I have to wonder how they think that the warm temperatures down here are actually going to get in closer. So I suspect this may get a bit colder by tomorrow morning, and the ice potential may drop to just snow potential, but we'll have to keep an eye on it because we're flirting within a degree or two either way when we look at that for tomorrow and the potential for some ice. And there we are, just hovering around 32 to 34 in the afternoon with the snow in and out, ice potential, and then bam, here comes the reinforcing cold. By Saturday, this will be Friday night, almost midnight. It is back down to the teens again. And by the morning, we're either upper single digits or lower 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there, with very cold to our east and to our west, as it has been. All right, so that's that. Now let's tack in some wind gusts with that real quick, too, to see that before I go back to the precip and we zoom in on the precip. So again, here's Lafayette. Luckily for us on this chart, it does show Lafayette pretty clearly on almost every time that it comes out. It shows 8, 16 winds picking up during the day, but notice the flow is from the southwest and the south. Remember, that's a warm flow. That means potential is there for temperatures to go up. Pretty strong out towards our west right now, and that is where that other system is coming in, right behind us, the one that's going to come in this afternoon, pop through. We stay pretty windy overnight tonight, and then tomorrow morning, we kind of die away again, and there's like hardly no wind at all. And then, boom, here comes the next system. This one has some gustiness, lots of 25 to 30-mile-an-hour winds out here to our west, over the lake, even 41 knots. So that's around 45, closing in on 50 miles an hour in places up there for gustiness. And so tomorrow looks to be pretty gusty, especially into the afternoon. Look at this, 30 knots for us. This would be at 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. So tomorrow evening, 30 knot gust potential, which is about 35 miles an hour. And it stays that way, it looks like all Friday night, and then starts to die a little bit as we get into Saturday morning. So even though the temperatures will be, 30, it's going to feel like it's still 0 out there to 10 because of the strong gusty winds that will be in the region. All right, so now that we've talked a little bit about the potential for how cold it's going to be, we looked at the big picture of precipitation. Let's look at the smaller close in view. All right. So right here is a small micro scale kind of high, macro, if you want to call it micro or macro. It's a high pressure system that's kind of over Lafayette here this morning. All right. But it's allowing for a few flurries here or there. And our system is coming in from the northwest. All right. This was at 14 Z. So this was 9 o'clock is what the model was saying. And it was picking up that on the radar really well. Right. We could see that. And then it moves towards us, and then we said it kind of falls apart. But yesterday's model showed it falling apart way up here by the lake and nothing really over us for today. Right now, we're starting to see some of that potential for some light snow in there, especially this afternoon. So we've been shooting for noon to 1, we'll call it, give or take, depending on where you're at. And then it kind of passes through, and then it lingers as flurries. We're not talking probably a lot here, potential for snowfall. Let's switch it over real quick and see what the total snow accumulation on that says. Just a trace, as normal, right? Very quick moving system, only lasts a few hours, might create a couple big bursts of snowfall here and there, but generally speaking, very much an annoyance snowfall during that time frame and what we'll be seeing. All right, so here we are at 7 o'clock tonight, and we seem pretty quiet. Now we're back to not much happening, but look at the system diving now. This is 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5. There we are, 4 to 5, and it's taking a nosedive right to Lafayette, which is right there on that front. And with that dive to the south, I see a lot of thickness here where I see more snowfall, the darker colors, right? The darker colors showing the intensity of the potential snowfall that the model thinks is going to be there. But I'm also seeing ice develop back here towards Rockford and back towards the Mississippi River and Illinois, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa all coming together in that area there. And it's making a beeline right towards Lafayette as the morning goes on tomorrow morning. This is 5 o'clock. Then at 6, it's right over Lafayette. Now, Look how wide it is. It's still only 30 to 50 miles wide, and it's at its widest when it's near us. So, what if it sets up right here when we kind of stay out of it? That's a possibility. But right now, it is shooting towards us, and we are within about 24 hours. So, I feel pretty confident we're going to get a little something out of this for sure. Then it kind of buzzes along, and this is by 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Still some pretty thick snows, and the ice is now caught near us with our temperatures hovering around freezing by that time frame. And it cut across mostly snow, Attica, people down towards Petersburg. If you're down towards Crawfordsville, looks like you have even better chance for some ice with this system as it goes through. And we are more of the snow value with some ice mixed in, which could be a problem, right? Because you snow a little bit, you throw some ice on top of it, then you snow a little bit over the top of it, and you have some problems with very slippery road conditions tomorrow, potentially, especially in the morning hours. And then as we head towards midday, it's still snowing here. There's 16Z. That's 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. And it tries to cuts off by about noon. Okay, so it snowed from what, 5 to let's call it 10 or 11, 5 hours, pretty decently for a while there. And then it cuts itself off, but the flow is out of the north now, straight from Lake Michigan towards us. And we've seen this pattern several times over the last couple of weeks, and it's going to just start thrusting clouds towards us. Flurries off and on all afternoon tomorrow, I would think. Maybe a couple spots of sun, believe it or not. If you look between the gaps, right? So let's say this one right here at 22Z tomorrow, which is 5 o'clock in the afternoon, shows some snowfall coming off the lake just to the west of Lafayette and an open spot from Lafayette off towards the east. Well, if you're in this open spot, you might actually see a couple spots of sunshine as a possibility late in the afternoon tomorrow, whereas it'll be cloudy here. That's the kind of thing you get off of Lake Michigan and your lake effect snows. They can be very streaky at times. So while it shows snowfall between us and Attica right now during that time frame tomorrow, it could be over us, it could be over Attica. It may shut itself off because it's not a strong enough flow. The angle may change. Just even 10 degrees makes a big difference with lake effect snows. Plus, Lafayette being so far away from the lake, we tend to get very little in snowfall accumulations, but we do see some annoying snowfall from that, definitely. And you notice that continues on into the evening tomorrow night, kind of lingers. I still see some more flurries here with this. Same thing, coming off of the lake. The flow is off of the lake. And this is Friday night, midnight into 4 and 5 in the morning. And it's just more of the same, it looks like, setting up for Saturday. All right, so that tells us how much snowfall are we going to get with this. Well, here's the first little system bounces through, right? And in that first intense little bit of snow, what are we going to see for accumulations? Just shows us a trace. It really shows us hardly nothing with this first little system today, right? And which would be expected. We know it's not very wide. We know it's long, but it's not very wide. May hit our visibility is pretty good for a short period, but really a trace to just a dusting on the ground is about what most of us are going to see this afternoon from that system coming through. But then what does the second system do? So we keep an eye on this, and here it comes. Here comes the trends. There we go. By about, let's see, this is 11Z tomorrow morning. This would be about 6 o'clock. It's already showing more than a half an inch of snowfall in the Lafayette region by that time frame. And then we're over an inch by about 7 in the morning. And look at that, 1.3, 2 inches, very quick moving system, but a potential for somewhere around 2 inches, maybe some isolated spots where we're hovering around 3, anywhere in this streak, anywhere probably 50 miles either side of this streak of snowfall. You could see an inch to 3 inches of snow pretty quickly. And then it'll be tapering away as the day goes on. And then does it tack anything really on after that? Yeah, it tacks a little bit here or there off of the lake Friday night into Saturday. Another half-inch potential off of the lake. That seems a little too much to me, but we could very well get into one of those little spots. So the model is saying 2.4 inches for Lafayette and like some 3-spot areas very close to us. But notice how narrow that path is. So you're trying to, it's not the threading the needle with a camel, but you are trying to hit it pretty consistently. Very easily, you could see the system slightly to our north east or slightly to our southwest, and we're just on the fringes of this. And we'll keep an eye on this one though. We're moving through pretty quickly, trying to take a beeline right towards Lafayette. And the other potential is freezing rain. Let's see what it says for freezing rain. Let's go back. I'm gonna hit the freezing rain potentials here as we go through this. Here comes the system. Boom, boom, boom. There's some freezing rain potential. Let's see, 5Z. That would be tonight. It actually shows because we'll be hovering around that thing. That's just flurries more than anything else. There comes our freezing rain potential. And the good news is it does appear mainly to be south. Here's Lafayette, southwest of Lafayette, over towards the state line. If you're heading towards Decatur tomorrow, if you're heading towards Champaign, St. Louis, you may run through that streak of ice that falls tomorrow during the day, potentially there. For us, it just shows trace. But again, now, what I just told you, remember, 50 miles either side, we could have some potential for some problems. This swath is only 50 miles wide on its own. So let's say it sets up here right over Lafayette instead. This is why we keep an eye on this. And I'll have more details again tomorrow morning to give you a really good update on that as it comes through in the morning hours tomorrow morning. So there's your potential for the snowfall for that system. And let's go back out one sector, back out to the bigger sector of the Midwest again. And now I'm going to change some models and let's go to the NAM and see what the NAM is saying about these systems. Let's first go back to precipitation types and what it shows for the model as it comes through. This is 71% done for the 12Z, the new run. And here it is showing the system bumping, and then again shows it coming through today, right? Looks pretty thick, pretty intense right there through Lafayette. Kind of falls apart as it gets through here. And remember, this is only showing now every 3 hours instead of every hour like the herd shows you. But then it returns and shows another potential for some snowfall late this evening. And this is before our developing system up towards Minneapolis even starts to show its face. So there's some still snowfall overnight potential. And then there's a shot. And it also is taking a pretty good shot at Lafayette, which is right there where I put the crosshairs pretty much. You can see it right there. It's also showing ice on the side right here on the southwest sector of that system as it moves through. It pops through during the day tomorrow. Gets pretty heavy down towards the south of us. Lots of snowfall still behind it by 10 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Well, morning, we'll call it. Into the afternoon, we start to fall into flurries, and you notice the strong flow out of the north still. Not as much snow coming off the lake, the NAM shows, but this still does show some potential there. You can see it there through Friday night. Now we're into midnight or so and 1 or 2 in the morning, and we're still seeing some snowfall coming off of the lake and trying to, as a high pressure system kind of pushes its way into our picture. There it is right there. And that would be Saturday morning into the afternoon hours. The high crosses across the state of Indiana and gets into Ohio. Well, where was it before that? Here's our system. This is Friday night, and we've seen the system diving down across us, right? And then the high is developing. It's kind of up in Wisconsin, but it's going to reorientate itself back down here towards Missouri into Illinois. And then we see it pop up there. Watch. There it is. Kind of reorientates itself, and it's now more in Illinois and cuts across to our south. That brings that flow out of the north and colder for a bit. That's that reinforcing shot on Saturday and into Sunday right now, it looks like. And then we get a flow back from the south moving towards Sunday. This would be Saturday evening. So I suspect we're going to see some warmer temperatures again, probably Sunday right now, it looks like. Will we get back to our average? Well, this is what I wanted to hit with real quick here. I think I've done a couple charts up for us today. Let's see, we've got this one. All right, here's what the numbers show, right? It has been 16 days since the last high was at or above normal here in Lafayette. 16 days, so over 2 weeks. And there's only been one day in the last 22 where the actual temperature has been at or above the actual high temperature that is forecasted for on the average for that time of the year. So some very cold temperatures in Lafayette over the last couple of weeks. We've all lived through it. Isn't it funny where 25, all of a sudden we're all going, man, it feels pretty warm out there. That is exactly what we have been seeing over the last couple of weeks because the temperatures have been down near zero so often and been so far below normal. even getting up close to normal, even though we're still below it, feels like it's warmer. So 25 today is going to feel warm compared to the 10 that we had for highs just a few days ago, that kind of thing. So there's your cold temperatures in the forecast that have been there and what we have seen for a while. We see that high setting up. Let's go back to the surface real quick and look at the temperatures on the surface for the NAM, the North American model. And we go back to today, and it's in the teens. It shows it there. It shows the 20s, just like the HER did. Says we're going to be that way through the night. It does not. Well, there it goes. One little shot of the warm tomorrow, and then that's where we'll see the potential to get close to the high. I believe the high this time of the year is right at 34 or 35. Let's go back and take a look at that one chart here. Sorry, guys, I'm buzzing through them pretty fast. There we go. So the average high this time of the year is 35. So if we can get there today, there's potential for that. Now you look at this chart here, and over the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, almost a month, there's that one day. And the one day that we actually got to the high temperature was January 21st. That was the last time we saw a temperature on the high that was actually the high. Otherwise, it's been since before that, it was January 16th. Well, we hit 37 that day. And then the other day we hit 42 on January 21st. So we may just scratch it out tomorrow. And then maybe again, it looks like potentially February 10th. So 5 days from now. So we still have another 5 days where maybe only one day we actually get to the average high temperature for this time of the year. So, and that could be tomorrow. We'll see. Can we get to 35 tomorrow? We're going to be right around that range, and we'll be flirting with some ice potentially. So we'll have to see. But then the cold comes back in, reinforces. Here's the high coming down, reorientating itself right here over southern, well, we'll call that northern Illinois. And then in central Illinois, cuts across just to our south. And the high reorientates the winds. We start to see everything come back from the south and then pushes in from that direction for the next couple of days after that. Well, at least for that time being on Sunday, out to the 8th. It looks like it may still be a day or two before it gets warm enough to actually give us some kind of temperature increase on that. And for that, we'll go out to the ECMWF, the European model, and see what it says. It shows us still in the teens at that time frame, a little colder, still says it's going to stay cold, tries to warm us up. It finally goes for our first day back above normal or close to it. That is the 9th, maybe 34 again. But by then our average high is 36 maybe. So we're flirting with the temperature actually going up. Then it stays cool, but a little warmish. At least we're near normal for Tuesday. And then bam, it looks like next Tuesday we're back to 40. Maybe the first time we've hit 40 in a month, over a month. So it's been a while by that time frame. So the European and the 50s are not that far away. Look at that, 60s, even 70 close to the St. Louis area. Not bad. Southern Missouri next Tuesday. That would be the 10th of February. So, and that's your shot there for the European model. The GFS says a little bit colder still. Here we are. We're running through the temperatures. There's tomorrow. It says only 32, 33. So it's a little more negative for the temperature. It's just a degree or two, but still kind of bringing us the potential tomorrow. And then again, maybe next Tuesday, it starts flirting with the temperature, but boom, look at that. Tuesday afternoon, 51 degrees. The GFS is saying for us next Tuesday afternoon. So there we go. Maybe that's a guarantee to me in my mind at the moment. It's still 5 days out, right? But that there's a strong potential that we will be above normal, obviously, because one model is showing 51 and the other two are showing us in the 40s or real close to the 40s. So there's a positive for next week. What's it look like on Wednesday? Warm on Wednesday still, but a quick moving clipper comes through. Oh, there comes some more cold again, but not that cold. We're back hovering around 30s and 40s now instead of 10s and 20s for our highs. Lots of 30s in here I see moving through. Now I'm all the way out to Sunday, February 15th. This would be Saturday evening going into Sunday. And we're still, we're temperatures are at least normal by this point. I even see some 40s and 50s at times. Look at that warmth coming up on later in the month by the 17th of February. Look at that. 70s way up into Iowa. 50s for us potential there on those days. Yes, very nice. So there's the warm up. What's it do towards the end, though? Does it come crashing down? Sure enough. Now, is this what everybody's talking about the potential for going into March being very cold and the pattern changing? This could be, but look how far out it is, folks. It's 2 weeks already before we see that big cold that could come, but may not set itself up during that time frame. So a lot of cold still there being pushed out of the area, and our best chance to get above and stay above normal for a while will be next Tuesday after a quick shot of some warmth tomorrow may get us right to our general high for this time of the year. So, man, there's a lot going on. We have a lot of potential for some light snows and the potential for maybe 2 inches tomorrow, it looks like, as a potential as that system moves through. And we'll have to keep an eye on some of the ice. I noticed these numbers have changed here a little bit. They're a little warmer on this tomorrow, 38 here, 23, 30, 35, 47. There you go, Tuesday, 47. So for sure, not for sure, you can't ever be for sure on this. You're a weatherman, right? You never do that. But it looks pretty strong that next Tuesday we will be above normal for an extended period of time, at least 24 hours or more. And that's a good news for us. When I go back and look at windy and the temperatures right now, let's move this up a little bit. Here we go. And let's zoom in a little bit on the windy. So windy's using the same information that the model that I showed you was showing before, but what it's doing is just putting in a different view. And I can do all kinds of different things from radar, satellite, rain, thunder over here. This is a free, go to windy.com. This is free. This doesn't cost you anything. And you can get the models are down in the bottom right-hand corner. You can see those pretty easily. Uh, it's got the ECMWF is the European model. The GFS is your global model. Your icon, I'm not real familiar with the icon that much, but it also shows your NAM, which is your North American model, and your HRRR, the HER. That's the close-in one. That's usually the one that's within 18 to 48 hours and does an hourly forecast. The HER does. For instance, I switched over to the HER right there. And when I do that, you can see the temperature is actually starting to warm up as the morning goes through. Plus, this will change your temperatures down here on the bottom. Your time frame will go to local time for you. If you're struggling with Zulu, you know how I was talking about the Zulu times, and I always try to change it, and it can be confusing even to me. And I've been doing it for 40 years, and I'll say, hey, it's about midnight. But I look at it and that's really 7 o'clock because of the 5 hour difference. Here, it'll put the local time in there for you if you want to do that. And that's on that chart right there. And you can zoom in really close. It gives you the winds, whatever you would like to get. We're going to stick with, let's see what we can find for this is showing the temperatures. I want to see some of the rain accumulation on this and see what it shows for tomorrow. Actually, will it show it as snow? I think it'll show it as snow. And let's see what it says as the HER goes through. All right. Oh, there's a little path of the snow. Now I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Whoop, zoomed in. Never fails. There's that swath. Now on this, it shows the swath of snow right over Lafayette and just to our north, right there, and to our northeast. So that's something to keep in mind. But that's another way to look at it, right? So that's what you're looking at. Now, if I go back and I stair step it back a little bit, it'll change. It'll just run right through it. And these are totals that you might see. Rain, thunder, we can switch it to that, and it gives you these boxes. And you notice it shows snow in those boxes. And I just move it right along. And there's the HER kind of showing where everything's at. Boom, boom, boom. And then it shows the system coming in tomorrow. Very intense snowfall right through that area, very quickly moving through as the day goes on tomorrow. This is starting to look more like a game changer for tomorrow because even though 2 inches of snow doesn't seem like a lot, the mixture of ice with it could be a problem for any of us during the day tomorrow. If you're out and about, you're driving anywhere. If you're heading north, you're trying to go to Michigan, Chicago, over to Fort Wayne, something like that tomorrow, you're going to have some struggles with the snowfall as the day goes on during the day tomorrow, and icy conditions. If you're heading towards St. Louis, you're going to be better off, although you're going to hit some ice between Champaign and Lafayette, it looks like right now, based on what we're seeing there. And then notice the streaks of snow coming off the lake. So windy's a good product. It just shows it a little differently, and I may use it from time to time. I'll probably show you a little bit of both, depending on the day and what I'm looking at and what I'm thinking about and what you might be thinking about, and I think you might like or might not like. That is it right now for your weather. Your weather report was brought to you by me. I brought you the weather report, and because of that, we're going to come back out to me, and we're just going to talk. We've got a little bit of time left. I'll hit the weather again real quick right at the end, just to give some highlights of what we covered already. I wanted to hit some of the local things to do in the area. We've been talking about some of this for a while, trying to do things like that on this show. There's a reason it's called Let's Talk Lafayette. I want you to talk to me about what you think is happening in your life and what you want to do and what you would like to talk about. And that would extend the program and make it longer and longer. But Craig, my son, was saying, "Hey, why don't you show some of the things to do?" And I've done that from time to time. Well, I was trying to find some places where I can do that, and I found a really good spot on Star City that shows a lot of the things to do. The Star City TV, and I know there's another one on WLFI too. But it shows like there's a Lafayette youth baseball registration. Is still going till March 9th on here. So if you want to get your kids into the Lafayette youth baseball, you can do that. You have time. There's an open house event for the community calendar for Sunrise Open House. Dare to Bear Skate is in here. This is listed on this system. There's a cappella lessons if you're interested from February 16th to March 23rd. A cappella. I'm not sure if that's a cappella or not. I think I would have been a good opera singer. No other singer though. That's about it. Only because the booming voice can come out. That's about it. And then there's all kinds of other things going on. I'm just going to click on one. Greater Lafayette sees increased bald eagle sightings around bodies of water. I've noticed this? I don't know if you had. And what I didn't realize is, and maybe some of you experts out there on the American bald eagle can tell me what you think. I've seen a lot of bald eagles lately, which is a lot more than we did when we were kids, which is great news. I did not realize bald eagles are as much of a scavenger as I thought they were. I've seen them around dead deer all over the place around the county lately, and I did not realize that they did that as much. I thought they were more of the, in your mind, you think of an attack bird because they look so menacing and they're tough, right? So it looks like we're seeing more of them in and around our bodies of water here lately. Something to keep in mind there. Record snowfalls in Indiana history. I want to see this one real quick. What does it say? Record snowfalls in Indiana history. This came out a couple days ago. Almost everyone who lives in areas prone to snow seems to have a legendary snowstorm history, right? For us, those of you my age, the blizzard of 78. Now, the blizzard of 78 cut across all the Midwest, so that's why there's so many big stories of it. And I can remember 10-foot drifts and them cutting the path down the road to get to us in the county. We lived up near Lake Michigan. I was from LaPorte, and it was called the storm of the century. Any of these blizzards or bomb cycles or cyclones that have happened since then are always compared to that kind of thing. And according to experts, historic snowfalls, the kind you measure all other snowy days against, are becoming more regular. Okay. Are they becoming more regular, or are we just running through a pattern? I think we're running through patterns, right? That's what we're doing. Some warmth and we don't see as many, some colder, we see some more, right? That's the kind of thing. Despite shorter, warmer winters driven by climate change in many areas, and again, get away from the climate change stuff. The climate is always changing. It's just a word for you to think about and get to give people money. I'm sorry, it is. It's just the way it is. Shorter, warmer winters in this period that we're in right now. In many areas, blizzards are predicted to become more frequent and intense. Why would that be? If you have listened to me for any extended period of time, what have I told you? The colder their air is, the less snowfall it will hold. If it is warmer, it will hold more snowfall because the air itself can hold more moisture. Hence, when it's 30 and it snows, you get more snow usually. The same exact system at 10 degrees gives you half of the snowfall that you would normally see from that system at 30 degrees. So if you are going through a more of a warmer winter at times, you are going to see more snowfall. This is a norm. This is not out of the norm. This is not climate change. This happened obviously in 1978. It probably happened in the 30s. It probably happened in the 50s. It probably also happened in the 90s, but we don't talk about it because we don't have an agenda to get to for a lot of people. So, since warmer air, well, oh, it went into it. It explains it. Since warmer air holds more moisture, more snow is likely to fall when temperatures are just below freezing versus when temperatures are significantly below 32 degrees. I didn't know that was going to do that. Warmer than normal winter air is impacting nearly every region of the U.S. This is true, except out west, right? The people out west are going, man, this winter's been great. It's warm out here. Those of us from the Rocky Mountains to the coast, the East Coast, have been seeing the cold, of course. Let's see, what else does it say? For every 1 degree rise in Fahrenheit, the air holds 4% more moisture, creating the right conditions for intense snowfall. Uh, they compiled some of the biggest one-day snowfalls in Indiana using the environmental information. All right, I like this. Um, it starts with like 19 inches and goes all the way up to 26. And my county's in here a couple times. All right. My home county where I grew up. Starting with Marshall County in January 3rd, 1999, 19 inches of snowfall in one day. Hold it, that's not 1978. That's not now. Could that be climate change back then? Oh, maybe. One day snowfall in 2011, 19 and a half inches in Lake County. Again, maybe warmth, but then with this throws you off. Remember I said about different times, different eras. February 21st, 1912 in Fountain County, one day snowfall of 20 inches. A few years later in 1918 on January 15th in Vandenberg County, one day snowfall, 20 inches. Hold it. That can't be. That couldn't be climate change, could it? Way back then? You see my point, right? We can grab any number and make it look like it's something else. Higher numbers, totals. In 2004, there was 22 inches. 2009, 22 inches in LaPorte County. 1917, the second highest total, actually ties for first, is in Switzerland County. Where is Switzerland County? We have a Switzerland County? Is it me or I'm just losing track? One day snowfall, 26 inches. That was in 1917. Tied for the highest ever, which fell in St. Joe County, which is South Bend, where they got 26 inches in one day. And of course, that's off of the lake. And most of these are right off of the lake. LaPorte County, 22 inches in 2009. Let's see, Porter County, 24 inches. That's right off the back of the lake, right? Lake County, right off the back of the lake. Marshall County, just off of the lake, just south of South Bend, right? See, so all of these are high totals. But what I notice is they vary anywhere from what was the first one? 1912 all the way up to now, and different periods. About the only thing I don't see registered in here much of is the 50s, 60s, and 70s, really. Matter of fact, where is the 1978 storm in here? It's not even listed as a one-day total because that storm was much longer lasting. It snowed for long periods with lots more snow, but not the daily total being high like that. So pretty cool numbers that they popped out on there. Kind of funny that I explained to you about the temperatures and then it was in the article itself. So there you go on that. There's a Saturday night Lafayette comedy gala to raise money for mental health initiatives coming. This is on February 7th. The NAMI, N-A-M-I, West Central, Indiana, will be hosting its Saturday night Lafayette Comedy Gala at the Stables Event Center at 6 p.m. Purdue comedy troupe, the Crazy Monkeys, will perform. According to a Lafayette Facebook post, local celebrities will be in attendance. And no, it's not me. I know you guys are thinking that, and that's nice that you think of me that way, but I'm not a local celebrity. I'm only a celebrity in this house, and that's when I have cookies to give to people. Again, this is for the charity, right? They're getting money for NAMI, which is what does NAMI stand for? I don't even know what NAMI stands for. They should have put that in the article, right? Oh, mental health, right? So it's for mental health initiatives. I don't know what the NA stands for though. Mental health initiatives. But the tickets are $70 per seat or 500 per table. Reservations can be made online. And it's a good cause though for mental health and helping people, and you'll get to see some comedy through that. So that's a good one right there if you're interested in that. Um, there is a Purdue, Indiana Agri-Ability Project to sponsor Assistive Technology Expo on the February 17th. It'll feature demonstrations and opportunities to learn about assistive technology in agriculture. And I'm wondering, drones? I've seen some drones doing some agricultural stuff. That's pretty interesting. They're going to Purdue's Ag Ability Project is going to be working with the Vincennes University and nonprofit Easter Seals Crossroads, who will be sponsoring an assistive technology expo itself. Now, here's the bad news. The expo will be held at Vincennes University Agricultural Center from 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. on February 17th. So you're going to have to drive down to Vincennes if you want to see it, but you can register by February 10th and go down and see that if you're interested in any of that kind of thing. And I know we have plenty of farmers around the area that might be interested in stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. And some of the things that you might be interested in on those fronts, right? So those are some of the things that are going on in the local area right now over the next month or so, and what you may be able to run yourself into and go see and do. Also, we've got plenty of college sports going on in our local area. It looks like the men tee it up again on Saturday. Let's see what the game time is for the game on Saturday coming in. They've had about a week off now. They got through that 3-game losing streak and then they just pounded Maryland, beat them by 30 or so. It looks like they're a couple days out. What time is it supposed to be? 1 o'clock on Saturday, February 7th. They will be playing Oregon, and Oregon's team has fallen apart, so I expect another blowout. Last I heard, Purdue was favored by 19 points. Go out there, cheer the Boilers on, get them back on track, continue with that because their next 3 games are against 3 top opponents, and 2 of them are on the road. So it's going to be a tough little push right through there. Remember, we've been talking, if you've been listening, Purdue, the men have a gauntlet of teams to play in February. If they come through this strong and looking good, they're setting themselves up for getting into April and into March Madness and at a higher seed. Right now, a lot of places are predicting them as a 3 or a 4, and just 3 weeks ago, they were still a number 1 seed for a lot of people. So they can make their own. They are their own. How's that? They have their game in their control of what's going to actually happen with them. They come out and win, they're going to move up. They come out and they flounder around, they're going to flounder around in third as a 3 or a 4 or a 5 seed even. That being said, they've got one of the toughest schedules in college basketball, and it's going to get tough over the next few weeks. It's going to be interesting to see that. I got a feeling they're going to put a whooping on Indiana when they come back into town, even though it's a rivalry, and that could go down to the wire like a lot of them do. I think there's some potential there. And we're starting to see some of the problems with other teams that they may be having too. People are taking advantage of Purdue's problems. They're trying to shore that up, make sure it doesn't happen again. Now other teams are starting to show their faults too. So Purdue's game Saturday at 1 o'clock. Where's it at? It says CBS. All right, there you go. You'll be able to watch it on TV 18, I think, based on that. The ladies had a game last night, I think it was, and it didn't go so well. It was an exciting game. I saw there was a shot right at the end to tie the game up to go to overtime by Purdue, but Penn State ended up winning the ball game in overtime, so they came up just a little short. But the ladies have been in and out. They're working hard at this game, and I think next year you're going to see a team that's in the top 5 of the Big Ten for the ladies, and we'll see what Katie has in store for them. Katie Gerald's the coach, and a lot of the ladies are looking really good and are improving, and you can see that on a daily basis. So there you go for the Lady Boilers. And when's their next game? Let's see how. The next game for the ladies is 3 days out against IU at IU, unfortunately. So that's Sunday at 2 o'clock. Sunday at 2 o'clock. And I'm not sure how good Indiana is, but who cares anymore, right? You're just trying to get better, and it doesn't matter who the opponent is in front of you, and trying to see if you can make yourselves better as a team as a whole. Some quick news. The LPD makes a new arrest in the judge shooting, so now they've arrested a sixth person in contact with the judge that was shot a few weeks ago. The Rossville Consolidated School District holds its February board meetings coming up. Let's see when that date is on that. If you're interested in that, you're out towards Rossville. I know I got some friends out that way. Uh, Due to inclement weather, they had to move it, right? So now it is, oh, that's a retirement date. I don't even see the date in here. Tuesday night, there you go. Board meeting Tuesday night and address personal actions. They had one and the policy updates. So that's when they did it. So this is updated. Rossville Consolidated School District holded or held, holded. Where are we at? Hey, you're Indiana Hick. Stop talking like that. All right. Faith Christian High School challenges other schools through leadership initiative. They're wanting people to get out and do some not missionary work slash helping the communities, and they're trying to push forward with that. So that's some good news out of Faith Christian High School and trying to push other high schools to do other things. Um, the city of Lafayette is awards opioid settlement funds to Valley Oaks Health. Now, I'm not sure what the whole story is on that, but here's what it is. The city of Lafayette announced late Wednesday that they have approved the distribution of opioid settlement funding to Valley Oaks Health in the amount of $386,728 that will provide programming and first services addressing the effects of the opioid crisis in the community. So this is good. This is going to help it. It's a settlement. I don't know, but it's a distribution that goes out to help Valley Oaks to help with opioid people that are on opiates. One of those things, opiates, either the way you want to call it, it's opioids are painkillers, basically, right? They get rid of painkillers. I've been in the VA system now for 30 years with my chronic pain, and we have done everything possible to stay away from opioids during that time frame, and I have not taken any. And I can tell you right now, there are some times I thought I'll do anything to get rid of the pain, but we have stayed away from it, and that's a good thing because I don't want to get hooked on it, and the VA is trying to keep their members from getting hooked on anything along those lines. But it's still out in the community, right? So now the city of Lafayette is giving some money to Valley Oaks Health to help with that situation and to help people get through. Maybe they're having problems with it, maybe they're hooked on it, and see what they can do for that. So that's some good news there on the front for people around the local area with that. Here's a big one that happened yesterday. Hundreds of Lafayette Jefferson High School students walk out against ICE. Well, it's great that some of them got out there and some of them had signs. But you know as well as I do that 90% of those kids that got out of there so they could get what? Out of class. Okay. So, how many people were actually out there cheering on and trying to get rid of ICE? I still don't understand the get rid of ICE thing. ICE is just trying to pick up right now, and that this is the truth. They're trying to pick up the people who have uh, created some kind of felony of a solid, like a murder, a rape. They're running drugs. They're stealing those kind of felonies, and they're picking those people up. And we're talking about them being bad people, but there's only one or two places where we're having problems, and it's the places where people that are getting out protesting, nothing wrong with protesting, are getting in the faces of the ICE people. That's where the problems are happening, but no one seems to pay attention to that or even talk about it. Why are there no problems in Miami? Why are we not hearing about problems in Texas with it? They're in Chicago too. We're not hearing anything. Only in Minneapolis, St. Paul, and out in Portland. Those are the two places. And lo and behold, those are the two places that the last time we had big riots across the country were started was those two places. So I should do a good job. They shouldn't hurt anybody when they're doing this. They should get the people in and out best they can. Try to get the right people so you don't make mistakes and move on. All right. So there you go. Unfortunately for me, I feel like because I was a kid once too in high school, I would have wanted to get out of class, and that's what I would have joined something like this. So 80-90% of those kids, I feel like just joined so they could get out of class. That's just me. Now, I'm sure there's some mixtures in there, and there's some people who really believe in what's going on there, and that's good for them, and I want them to protest. But for me, I feel like this is a story about kids getting out of school. That's what it is. They wanted to get so, and it happened all across the country too. So, and the other thing is, why are we grabbing our kids in our high schools and going after them like this with different ideas and trying to force them into thinking a certain way, right? That one I'm not sure of either. Um, if it was flip-flopped and you showed the other side trying to do that, the side that's doing it right now would be screaming their heads off that you can't do that, but they don't seem to think it's a problem at all when they're doing it, all right? So, all right, so there we go. That's about it for the day. Let's go back and hit the weather real quick here. 20 degrees outside, a 9-mile-an-hour wind, so the wind chill is hovering around 10. There's some potential for snowfall coming in here. Let's see if I got it on the satellite picture. Here's the satellite picture. Lafayette right here. We can see the band of lots of high clouds coming in, and then there's a strip of snow back here. Let's switch it over to our mosaic radar, and we can see it. Remember, I told you noon to 1 or so. Here we are at 10 o'clock. It's already now crossed past Springfield, heading towards Champaign on a southwest to northeast trajectory. I also noticed there is a loss of intensity in and amongst the line of snowfall, and there's another second line back here. So lots of flurries and light snow everywhere, even in the local Lafayette area right here. But this little band, which is now only 10 miles wide, will zip right on through around noon or so, another hour to the state line and another hour to us, roughly. That's roughly the time frame, with some light snows on the backside that will linger off and on through the afternoon. Very limited amounts here. We're talking a trace, maybe somebody out somewhere sees a half an inch. But something to keep in mind is the fact that another system will come into the area tomorrow. Let's go to the HER. We'll zoom in on this real quick so we can talk about it. And the HER says, doo, 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 doo. There we go. This is the 12Z model run. It shows the snow coming through this afternoon. There it is. Boom, kind of comes through. Snow lingers behind it. Lafayette being right here. Snow lingers behind it and is in the area in the afternoon. And then tomorrow, boom, another system dives right into us. This one much more intense. This one has more potential for even some ice mixing into it. As you can see here, this is 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. At 7 o'clock, it's still snowing pretty good with Lafayette here, and we're right on the edge of the ice. Right now, it's showing most of the ice potential being to our southwest. Attica, Petersburg, Danville, right over there is where you're going to run into that. Maybe Champaign, a very narrow strip of it also. Lafayette being right here. We're in the heavier snowfall potential with that. It's a very quick moving system, but it does look like because of the orientation of northwest to southeast, we will stay under that orientation if this is exactly where it's going to be for an extended period of time, and we will have snowfall potential in there for a bit. And then lingering again tomorrow night into Saturday, all coming off the lake with that cold northerly flow coming in. Let's see what the snow totals on there are. Snow totals show around 2.5 inches. If you go to Kuchera, who has he's only up to 2.9. So we see some 3 spots here or there, very isolated. He's also got his trajectory a little farther to the north on that. So it's just another model and a way of looking at where the snowfall is. And I believe the professor's name was Kuchera who came up with that, or the guy who came up with that. So snowfall tomorrow is a potential for us being significant enough to create problems. All right, during the day tomorrow, it looks like. Let's go back real quick. Precipitation type, peak time frame tomorrow for the snowfall. Let's hit it right. Let's do it right there. 12Z, which is 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. So this is for your drive into work tomorrow morning, right? Your first amounts of snowfall potential are at 10 Zulu, which is 5 in the morning. So somewhere around 5 in the morning, an hour before to an hour or two after, it's going to start snowing. It's going to be pretty intense for a while. It'll last out till about 10 or 11, and then it'll change basically just into flurries and remain that way off and on flurries with some thick snow shower here or there with not much accumulation after that. All the accumulation comes in that first bit. So this is a pretty good clipper trying to zip through tomorrow and give us some potential for the snowfall. And we don't have any big relief in temperatures being warmer or above normal anyway, but temperatures are warmer than they were just a week or 2 ago, and so it feels warmer out there for most of us. That's gonna be it for now. We're gonna call it a day here at, Let's Talk Lafayette. I would love for you guys to get in there, get in the chat, start talking to me about what you think, what you want to talk about. Is it sports? Is it more weather? I do a lot of weather because I'm a weatherman, obviously, and you will not find the intense charts and the look at all these different charts and the specifics that you will find anywhere else. It'll only be right here. So Let everybody you know about it. Like and subscribe, as they always say. Helps the channel, however it helps the channel. But I just want to give you some weather and talk to you from on a daily basis. It's something I thought Lafayette might need. So that's it for now. Hunker down. Why do you hunker down? Only because it's cold out there. Keep yourself warm over the next couple of days. We'll keep an eye on the snow, and I will be back tomorrow morning to give you more details on what is happening at that time frame. It's great talking to you. We'll talk to you next time here at Let's Talk Lafayette.